What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Refinement. Today I have a very powerful message for all eBay sellers, regardless of your skill level, regardless if you just started or you've been doing this for a while. I just want to talk about what I define as a professional. So for me personally, I define a professional as someone who earns $100,000 or more per year in their profession. Now, I came up with this because that's usually the income goal for somebody that gets a professional graduate degree. Like if you get an MBA or you go to law school or you become a doctor, your primary goal is probably that you want to get really good at that profession. But a secondary goal would be you want to make at least $100,000 per year. That's a lot of people's goal when they sign up to become a professional at something. So if you want to be great as a professional reseller, then the parameters are actually quite clear. There's really only two things you need to master. One, you need to be able to find $5 profit items in your category. So whatever category you pick, try to pick a category where you can find at least $5 profit in each individual item. Secondly, you would need to learn how to photograph and list 10 items per hour. So those two skills, right? There's secondary skills involved as well, but the main skills are being able to find items that are at least $5 profit and learning how to photograph and list 10 per hour. Those two skills can carry you to making $100,000 per year. Now, most people have to go get a degree. Most people have to spend time interning. Most people have to spend time, 4, 6, 8 years to get to that level. So when you're a reseller, I would say take your time. Pick a category that you're going to be in for a while, and pick a category that's easy to find wherever it is that you live, and then become good at that category so you can figure out what can make you $5 profit. Then as you get into it, you'll figure out how to photograph and list 10 per hour. I will tell you guys, the highlight of my resale career in the last 4 or 5 years is actually my little reseller Nirvana store. It has 121 items as of today, and it now has enough money in the store to list 30 items per day. So starting tomorrow, I will list 30 items per day in this store. I have enough capital to do that. I've been patient. It's taken 53 days to get to this point where I have now $2,000 profit. I have an extra $363 to go sourcing now, and that is enough for me to start listing 30 per day. I'm currently between 3 and 5 sales per day, which is a 100% per month sell through, meaning every single item in my store will sell every single month. And that's from me becoming a professional as a reseller. I know what to buy. I know how to list items quickly. I know how to photograph items accurately. I know how to describe them. I know how to price them. I know how to store them. And that took years of practice. So I think a lot of people are expecting $100,000 income with no effort at all. Like they took a class on the weekend and they're expecting to make the same amount of money as someone who's gone to school for 2 to 4 years and interned in the actual field for a few years. That's typically what you do to earn $100,000, not just watch a few YouTube videos on the weekend. That's not the same thing as putting in the work to learn what all of these things mean. How do titles work? How do pictures work? How do shipping and handling work? How does all this stuff fit together as a profession, as a reseller, right? So whatever category you pick, I put this little blurb in here that I wanted to help get the best quality experience for 10 customers per day. And I realized that my time is worth $50 per hour at least in this store. If I'm listing at least 10 per hour and every item is at least $5 profit. So I consider myself a professional. So that kind of mindset actually made me realize that 10 quality customers or 10 quality items is difficult when you get into a niche, because it actually is more time effective. This sounds really weird. I think it's easier to make $100,000 on eBay than less than 20. Because if you get really into it, that automatically results in you being able to list quickly and finding a lot of items. But if you don't really get into it, you won't find a lot of items and you won't know how to sell them. So it sounds really counterintuitive, but it seems like either you're going to really struggle and make like a couple $1,000s a month full time because you're not really a professional at what you do, or you're going to easily make over $100,000 per year in your niche because you know exactly what you're doing. So there's really, this sounds really odd, but it's just either like, when I've been doing this for a long time, I either meet people who do really, really well or people who really struggle. And the people that really struggle do a little bit of everything. They're on multiple platforms. They're in multiple categories. They don't really know how to take great photos or write great titles or how to ship things quickly or how to store them properly. They're just a beginner in everything. And they really struggle. And other people get really into just selling one thing, one category, and they consider themselves a pro. And it's just interesting because an accountant wouldn't do law on the weekend because it's too much of a industry shift. Yes, do some of the principles from accounting apply to law? Sure, but it's just on a different tangent. It's hard to do those two things that are so different. But as a reseller, for some reason, people think they can sell everything, including myself. So over the last, I would say, year or so, I've been slowly becoming a professional at just selling clothing. Not that I have any particular affinity for clothing. It's not something that I'm passionate about per se. I would say I'm passionate about selling it. But that could be the same for anything. I'm passionate about selling all kinds of things. But I really want to become a professional in this industry and find actually at this point 30 specific items for my little store to make 100,000, and then the big store I'd like to just be at 100 per day. So the big store is a little bit different. That store has more overhead, has employees. This store by myself though, it's kind of a labor of love, and me learning what every single fee means, where every single penny goes, exactly how eBay works, how much am I really paying in promoted listings, how much am I really paying in shipping. It's fascinating to me. So, so far I'm averaging $6.27 in shipping. I'm paying $3.60 on average to eBay. So my biggest expense by far is shipping, right? Then I have figured out I'm spending an average of $3.43 per item. I'm selling my average items for $29.60, and my average profit per item is $13.26. And I hope to maintain a minimum of $10 in my category. Now you can see, I'm saying to be a professional reseller, you really only need to find $5 profit items. So me finding $13 profit items just means I have a little more experience, and I know I have a few more relationships in the game to get those types of items. But I also have had a listing habit of 5.5 items over the last 53 days. And this spreadsheet's been really cool because I can watch this average listings per day climb from 5.5 all the way up to 30, which is going to help me make $100,000 in this particular store. So I think once you become a professional, everything you do starts to change. So usually when you get criticism, or you get hate, or you get people not believing in you, the people who do that typically aren't professionals. Because that's where when I first started this, if you guys have been following me for a while, I'm not the same person as I am now. Now I don't talk down to people. I didn't necessarily do that when I was starting off either, but when I started off I thought I knew everything. And now I realize I don't know anything. Even after 4 or 5 years of doing this and full time and meeting so many people, I realize how little I know. In the reselling game, there's a lot of information, right? So the people who know the least act like they know the most, or think they know the most. I don't know what phenomenon that is, but as you become a professional, you'll see people who are professionals typically do not talk down to people because they realize all the different things that are involved. When I see somebody struggling at reselling, I know there's more to it. Maybe they haven't put the time in, so they're looking for shortcuts. They don't have the right background, they don't have the right capital, they don't have enough time, and maybe they're just doing it because they're just looking for something that's in between, right? Or maybe they're not taking it seriously. But there's more to it. As you become more of a professional, you can kind of, for lack of a better term, you can size people up. You can figure out why it is they're doing well or why it is they're not doing well just from your particular experience. So excuse me, I think this is a really important message for everyone, because it really just comes down to, are you able to find profitable items in your category, and are you good at listing them? Those are the two skills that you need in order to make over $100,000 per year. And it can take years to develop that. It's not something that happens overnight. And you can get lucky and find really profitable items. But to be able to do that hundreds or thousands of times per year, that's a labor of love. And I can tell you that I have been enjoying building this little store from scratch. I've taken every single photo. I've written every single title. The item specifics are as accurate as I can possibly make them. And the pricing, I've researched most of it down to the T. Most of my pricing is about at market or just slightly below. I'm using my triple threat method of promoted listings, coupon code. So I'm using promoted listings, I'm using promotions, listing every single day. I have combined shipping discount. I'm using every single tool that I've learned over the years to make items sell. And I just think that a lot of people are doing this with a short-term thinking. And I'm doing this forever. There's no reason for me to ever turn off this Reseller Nirvana store. And this Reseller Nirvana store is doing much better than my Daily Refinement store. I even considered potentially just closing my Daily Refinement store and starting over, because this store is so much better. It's so much cleaner and crisper. And it's interesting that it's going to be making like $150 an hour, which is like the same income as a beginner surgeon. Right? So it's pretty interesting looking at how that's possible. Just me becoming relatively proficient in my niche, right? Knowing all the different keywords is really paid off. So I appreciate you guys. Please smash the like button. Consider subscribing. I owe all of it to my colleague Tech and Sports, because this store is modeled after his store. Okay, so it's not a direct copy. I do things a little bit differently than him. But it is modeled after his basic eBay principles, which are, list every day, be consistent, be the best at what you do, be the best in your category, really understand what you do. So as an example, one of my categories is women's pants. I'm just trying to be the best women's pants seller I can be, right? Best photos I can, provide more measurements, provide close-ups, pack each item cleanly. And I've been trying this new method where I show that it's bagged in this plastic, because I'm sending out my items like this. And it does take about 5 seconds extra to put it in. It takes 10 seconds extra to put it into a clear plastic bag. But it's been really good with my inventory system. And one of the reasons why this store hasn't been growing faster is I have been thinking about storage. And the fact that this store is selling so quickly is really making me question my inventory system, because I may not need as big of an inventory system as I thought. So I may get a nicer location, like maybe a retail location for my store, and that way I can attract a little bit of a higher caliber person to come work for me, because right now I am just two people and myself, and I'd like to potentially grow, and I think that I need a more retail style, or at least a proper warehouse. I think that will really help me scale, because doing it in a storage locker is nice, but like my overhead is low, it's month to month, but it's not as comfortable as a warehouse or a retail space. So just something for me to consider. If I don't need as much space as I thought, then maybe in California, where things are $3 a square foot, maybe that isn't so bad for retail space. So just something I'm thinking about. I appreciate you guys following me on this journey. I would appreciate if you join my Patreon at patreon.com/the Resellers podcast. And my colleague and I have been running this for almost 1 year now, and I have been absorbing the information that he has been teaching, and we've done 51 podcasts together. And over the course of a year, my income has more than fourfold gone up, and I was already making six figures. Okay, so it is like ridiculous how much improvement has happened over the last 4 years. Over the last year. It feels like it's been 10 years, to be honest, because continuous improvement is exhausting. and I've been doing it in every single aspect of my life. Like, I'm taking everything professionally. Like, I want to be a professional, like, person that orders in line. I want to be like professional grocery shopper. I want to cook amazing meals. I want to be an amazing parent. I want to be an amazing spouse. All this stuff is like filtering into everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So I think it's really powerful. I think he's one of the greatest resellers of our time. Just getting around someone who can list 250 items a day, 7 days a week, all year long. It's worth it just to see how that's even possible, right? Because he has the same 24 hours in the day that we do, but his expectation for himself, his standard for himself is so much higher than your average I mean, he's doing, to put it into perspective, he does in a week what most people do in a year. That's how dramatic it is. So imagine just getting around people like that, moved me from, 40 to 70 listings a day to over 100 every single day all year, right? So my store was 7,000 items when we started this group, and it's actually pretty much capped out at 27,000 listings. I have, not that that's a bad thing, I just haven't been able to grow it because I'm kind of at reseller nirvana, pretty much listing the same amount of items that I sell, and it's not growing anymore, and I don't know how to grow. So it's going to take some time. Plus, as I implement the strategies from my little store into the big store, my big store will shrink in size. It's going to have negative sell-through rate, meaning I will sell more items than I can list as I adjust all of the listings so that they're like this one. As I become more of an expert, the items will sell faster, which will mean my store will shrink. But again, that's a good thing. It's not about who has the biggest store. It's about who sells the most things. And my store right now is selling that many items just because it's huge. It doesn't need to be that big. To get 100, my goal is, short-term goal is 200 sales per day. And it's kind of odd to me that with 100% sell-through rate, I would need to list 6,000 items per month in order to sell 6,000 items per month. But I might only need 6,000 items if I sell 100% of them every single month. Now, I don't think that that's possible in my particular niche because I'm not sourcing enough of the right items. When you're buying 6,000 items, you can't really be that picky, right? So that's something interesting about this too. When you operate on a really, really small scale, you can have a really high average sale price, high profit. But as you start picking up everything around you that's profitable, you start to watch your average sale price drop and your average profit drop. But that's more money than you would have made before because you can only squeeze so much juice out of whatever sourcing route that you have. So just something to consider. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I just want people to think to themselves, okay, you want to be a professional? You have to figure out how to find $5 profit items in your category. You have to learn how to photograph and list 10 per hour. That's $50 an hour. That's $100,000 per year. And almost no resellers do that. That's how hard it is to be able to find $5 profit categories at scale. So appreciate your time. Please smash the like button. See you guys next time.